Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Planning Commission meeting for June 20th, 2023. I'm Mark Bennett. I'm the chairman for the Planning Commission. If you would, please rise for a moment of silence and our pledge to the flag. And If you would, please turn and face the flag and repeat with me as I say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. LeDuc, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Ms. Townsend, absent. Ms. Butler? Here. Mr. Moyer?
Here.
Ms. Pearson did say she was unable to attend
Thank you.
tonight. Ms. Thomas? Here. Mr. La Rochelle?
Here.
Dr. Schmidt? Here. Mr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Rose? Here. Mr. Tiller? Mr. Bennett?
Here. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
Before we get to the minutes, which is the next on our agenda, I would like to introduce Josh Everard. If you can pronounce your last name, please. Sure, it's Josh Everard. Josh is now our new county attorney for New Kent County, and his first day on the job is today. So welcome to New Kent County, sir, and I hope it's very productive for you. And who knows, we may call upon you tonight. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, approval of the minutes. Any additions, corrections, or clarifications needed to the minutes from the May 15th meeting?
Mr. Chairperson, Section 12 on the minutes,
Yes, sir.
I was talking about retired generation. I said it's almost the equivalent of 2 nuclear units at North Anna, not in North America. That's North Anna Power Station.
Next time it'll be the world, okay? So, thank you. Anybody else, please? If there's none other, do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 15, 2023 draft minutes.
Yes, roll call, please, for approval.
With
Oh,
the-
I'm sorry.
With the corrections.
Thank you very kindly. Roll call for approval.
Sounds good. All right, Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Mr. La Rochelle?
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Ms. Butler? Aye. Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Abstain.
And Mr. Bennett?
Aye. Thank you very kindly. We're now moving to our citizen comment period. And Ms. Adams, if you would mind, please. This is a time period in which citizens of New Kent County can make remarks or describe issues that are not on tonight's schedule that they may want for the Planning Commission to hear. We will not act on anything we hear, but at least you're getting it making it vocal to the public. Thank you very kindly, Ms. Adams. Nobody has signed up, and we'll now move on to presentations, and I'll turn my attention to Ms. Adams or Ms. Kelly.
No presentations tonight.
Thank you very much. And I have no unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business from the staff?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Now we'll turn to our public hearing, and Dr. Smith, I will turn the floor to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have one public hearing before us. It has been properly advertised for tonight's consideration. Let me take a moment to review the procedures that we will use for tonight's hearing. Each public hearing will be considered separately. Staff will give a brief overview of the hearing that is before us. The sponsor of the case will be given an opportunity to make a presentation. Commissioners will be given an opportunity to ask questions of the sponsors or staff for clarification purposes. I will then open the citizens' comment portion of the public hearing and receive your comments. Sign-up sheets are located on the desk by the front doors of the administration building. I ask the following. You come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, address your comments to the commission, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. When the timer sounds, please conclude your remarks. Please note that the commission members will not answer your questions during the citizens' comment period, but will certainly take those questions and comments into consideration during the deliberation period of the public hearing. I now open public hearing AFD-01-23, addition to the Putney Creek Agricultural and Forestal District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Planning Commissioners, I present to you AFD application 0123 under your resolution PC 0623. This is an addition to the Putney Creek AFD. The applicants, Candace and Joseph Parsley, have applied to add tax map number 10-1K, which is approximately 39.8 acres, into the Putney Creek AFD district. Mr. Parsley currently works with a certified forester and has livestock production in the form of cattle on his property. On the property adjacent to this one, he owns tax map 10-1, but he recently acquired this parcel from Miss Galatea Groves, who was also in the AFD. A copy of the application is included in your packet. The AFD Advisory Committee met and reviewed the application on May the 11th and gave a vote of favorable recommendation to approve the addition to the district. The parcel currently consists of 18.7 acres of devoted pasture for cattle. There's 4.5 acres of marsh and wetland around the water features of the property that would qualify for the AFD as well. The devoted acres timber is 16.8 acres, which currently, because the property is a standalone parcel, would not qualify for the forestry. It's under 20 acres. But the applicants do intend to approach the planning department to do a lot consolidation in the future on this. So he would like to consider adding it based on the pasture and the marshlands. Just to go over the review of how we evaluate AFD properties, just covering the code, the agricultural and forestal significance of the land within the district and the adjacent area there too, is something that you would consider. The presence of any significant agricultural land or significant forest lands within the district in the area adjacent to that are not currently active in agricultural or forestry production. The nature and extent of land uses other than active farming and forestry within the district, the local development patterns and needs. The comprehensive plan, of course, plays a key role in your determination of this application, and the environmental benefits of retaining the land in the district for agricultural and forestal uses. And you can consider approving and sending a favorable recommendation to the Board of Supervisors through the adoption of PC 0623, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. In your packet, you have the application. You have information on the parcel, including maps that show you the RMA and RPA resource protection areas. This land is future land use is rural lands, of course. You have a soil report, which indicates prime farmland for the soils in this area. And also in the packet is a forestry report by and a agricultural report from the area extension agent, Forrest Hobbs, who's working with the Virginia Cooperative Extension through our office. He's out of James City County. He did make note of the cattle that are on the property in agricultural production. And then Eric Blake is a certified forester. So Mr. Parsley did want me to let you know that he intends to consolidate this parcel into his adjacent parcel, where it is also in the AFD program. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Madam Chair, I do have a question. Ms. Adams, are the adjacent parcels that the owner is desiring to add to this parcel, are they currently in the AFD?
They are.
Okay.
Tax map parcel 10-1, he's had in the AFD for several years, and he does have cattle production on that property as well.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Okay, and I will open up the public comments. Citizens comments, sorry. No citizens' comments, so Mr. Chair, I turn the hearing back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Schmidt. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
In order to address, protect, and promote public convenience, necessity, general welfare, and good zoning practices in the county, I move to adopt resolution number PC 0623 to forward application AFD 0123 to the New Kent County Board of Supervisors with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Any discussion? No discussion? Ms. Kelly, could we have a vote, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Ms. Butler?
Aye.
Dr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. La Rochelle?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
And Mr. Bennett?
Aye. Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is new business with the Stanco Family Subdivision Waiver Request, and I believe Ms. LeDuc is presenting that.
I'm going to ask Mr. Vaughn to pull up a photo for me. No, there you got it. Thank you, Kenny. It's just easier to see on the screen. Okay, I'm just going to give a brief overview of the waiver request before you this evening. Tonight you'll consider an exception request from section 91-126.6 of the subdivision ordinance to waive provisions specifying the construction of a new permanent deeded 50-foot right-of-way built to public standards for the proposed Stanco family subdivision. In 2016, the Board of Supervisors adopted Ordinance O-16-16, which allows for such exceptions. The lot layout shows the proposed access off Polish Town Road and how the lots will potentially be served. The applicant met on site with the Deputy Fire Marshal to discuss the provisions of their waiver request, as well as the access plans for emergency services. And Chief Deputy Fire Marshal Bennett, Brian Bennett was satisfied with the applicant's proposal. As laid out in the attached request, the applicant is requesting a waiver from both the road width requirement and that the drive be allowed to be constructed and surfaced with stone instead of asphalt. Resolution PC-07-23 is before you for your consideration. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. William Feltz and Mr. Stanco if they have a presentation for the commission.
Yes, hello. I'll be pretty brief. Just to summarize what we're doing, Mr. Stanco is looking to do a family subdivision where he's looking to add 4 parcels in addition to the existing one. It would be a total of 5 parcels on the property. There are several places along the existing driveway where there's currently gravel. It's about 8 to 10 foot wide, that it's unfeasible to install a 20-foot wide access road. So we've taken a look at it, and we can make at least 14 to 16 foot in width work throughout the entire section of road, as well as the gravel. And meeting with the fire department, they had no issues reducing that 20-foot paved width down to 14 to 16 in gravel as far as their emergency access goes. We'll be at the terminus of the private drive. We'll be installing a cul-de-sac or some sort of emergency vehicle turnaround. There was one additional item we were seeking a waiver for was the requirement that the road be contained within a 50-foot deeded parcel. The parcel is currently connected to Polish Town Road via a 20-foot wide stem, and there's a 15-foot wide easement on either side of that stem on the adjacent parcels, creating a 50-foot wide easement. I would also like to request that that 50-foot wide easement just be allowed to remain in lieu of the 50-foot deeded access. I know that's one of the requirements currently, but we had that in our waiver as well. Outside of that, I'd like to answer any questions anybody might have.
Are there any questions?
Yes, sir. Each of these parcels are all owned by the same entity?
Currently, there's one roughly 70-acre parcel. He's looking to do a family subdivision, at which point he would deed the 4 lots to immediate family members.
Deed them to immediate family members
Correct.
that would be eventually able to sell?
I believe per New Kent code, that's 7 years.
7 years?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
Any additional questions?
Yes, sir. Did Deputy Fire Marshal, was there any discussion about if fire equipment had to get by another unit?
That's primarily the reason I met him out there. And no, so we had agreed that the 16-foot, along with making sure that at least 20 to 30 foot was actually clear and accessible, was more than enough than what they needed. He's actually pretty impressed with just what was out there currently as opposed to what's in a lot of places in the county.
So he feels comfortable that,
Yes.
you know, because not every time you get the right equipment in there.
Correct.
It'll be their first, may not be one.
Correct. Yes, we discussed that way on site. He was comfortable with that.
And the turning radius on the intended cul-de-sac, is that going to meet the specifications for the?
That'll meet whatever, yeah. So if this moves forward, we'll actually have to submit a design plan for that private road, and the fire department will review that plan. And yes, it will either be a cul-de-sac or some type of hammerhead turnaround, whichever is feasible in that spot.
Yes, Ms. Rose.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm not seeing where each of the parcels meets up with this cul-de-sac.
So we haven't fully developed the actual family subdivision part of the plan yet, but they will all be served by a standard gravel driveway off of that cul-de-sac. So in essence, there'll be 5 separate driveways coming off of that cul-de-sac.
Mr. Davis.
Then a question for staff, I guess, our new county attorney. So the significance of the easement versus a deeded right-of-way, does that present issues in what we're considering tonight in your mind?
No, because what you were being asked to give an exception for would be an exception from the deeded access, and it would be along that right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
I guess at this point, he has the right to construct a access within that 50-foot currently. It just so happens to be that he doesn't own 50 foot of property.
I'm going to interject a question or two here.
Sure.
Isn't there a requirement for all lots to have access to a private or public right-of-way? Not easement, but public or private right-of-way, unless it's condominium?
Correct. That's the waiver request. The current code calls for a 50-foot deeded access route.
So your request is for a reduction in the width of the roadway getting to these 5 lots?
A request in the physical construction of the road as well
Right.
as the access easement
Okay.
width, which is the
And
deeded.
instead of a public or private right-of-way, a access easement and use of the flag portion of the lot.
Correct. It's currently a private access.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not a deeded to one entity parcel.
And there's also a provision in the family subdivision ordinance that the roadway is going to be maintained through an HOA or guarantor.
Correct.
So is a HOA or a guarantor going to be part of this Is that part of the waiver, not to have that too?
No, that is not part of the waiver. If that is a requirement, that'll happen. We had discussed it a little bit. I don't know if an HOA is quite appropriate for something so small, but each of those lots can be tied to some sort of road maintenance agreement to make sure that that road is always maintained.
So would the HOA include those lots that contain the 15-foot easement?
No, so the property north of the page and south are both served by their own driveways currently.
I understand that, but the use of the easement is for the use of that 69 acres or 63 acres.
Correct.
And from the deed description, they can do pretty much anything, including put utilities in it, and they're putting a roadway in it. But it would seem to me a discussion needs to be had with those adjacent property owners, whether or not they should be part of the HOA, since the improvements is occurring on their property.
I don't know why they would want to be part of it, because they're not benefiting from the actual roadway themselves. They have their own separate access to their parcels.
Understand. Was there any discussion as to a width of the roadway greater than 16 feet?
In certain places, it's possible, it's feasible. It's just not the entire width of the roadway.
And that would be to a width of?
14 to 16 foot for the
No,
majority.
I say greater than 16. You said in certain areas.
Oh,
That increased width would be to what?
20. That's
20.
that's the requirement.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for the?
Yep.
Yes.
Mr. Stenko would like to speak too when I'm finished.
Can I speak? I'm the landowner.
Would you want your question first?
I'm sorry.
Just
quick.
Good.
Quick clarification. So you are also asking for an exception to the paving requirement?
Correct. Yes, talking with Mr. Bennett, the gravel surface is fine. Their only concern is that it supported an emergency vehicle. He had no concern about what the material was, and we'll make sure that the actual material thickness of that gravel will support whatever vehicle he sees fit.
Dr. Schmidt, do you have a question? Okay. Yes, sir, if you would like to come up, and please state your name, please.
Joe Stanko, I'm the landowner.
Thank you, sir.
I currently live in James City County. I'm on the EDA there. When I bought the property here, the intention was to move my family. My daughter currently resides there. My son got married on that second lot over the weekend that's closest to the house. It's obviously not a lot now. So when I originally purchased the property, it met the requirements for a subdivision, family subdivision, as far as the right-of-way and the width of the driveway of what I owned. Due to some personal tragedy last year of my brother and sister-in-law, I had things that prohibited me from being able to submit this last year. So had I believed it changed, did it not change January 1? Had I not had some personal tragedy of losing my brother and my sister-in-law and taking care of their kids, I would have had this in last year where I'd met the requirements. So we're basically asking if you would grant me some grace dating back to December 31st, when I wish I could have turned this in last year. But due to some personal issues, I couldn't. I'd met the requirements when I purchased the property. I made a significant investment into the property to be able to do this with my wife, my kids, and now that things had changed after January 1. So that's kind of my circumstance. We are asking for the waiver on the asphalt because it's very costly. And the fire marshal seemed to be okay with what was there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any remarks or discussion among the planning commission members? You look like you have a question or a remark.
No, I want to make a motion if there are no other questions.
Okay. If you'd like to make a motion, be my guest.
Okay, in order to address, protect, and promote public convenience, necessity, general welfare, and good zoning practices in the county, I move to adopt resolution number PC 0723 for the exception request by Joseph and Barbara Stanko to the New Kent County Board of Supervisors with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Final discussion. I have one item. My personal opinion, I think because of 5 lots, that there needs to be access of each of those lots to a public or private right-of-way of adequate width to accommodate the typical section of the roadway, whatever that may be, and the drainage facilities associated with that. If this was 2 lots or maybe even 3, I can see maybe a smaller private flag lot, but we're talking about 5 lots that could interchange hands in the course of history several times. So that's my only discussion. It should be a public or private right-of-way that this lot's flag front on. Any other discussion? If not, Ms. Adams, roll call, please. A motion is to approve.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. To forward a favorable recommendation of PC 07-23 to the Board of Supervisors. How say you, Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Butler?
Aye.
Dr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. LaRochelle?
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Oh,
first.
Mr. Davis, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. We'll move along our next item on our agenda, Chairman's Report. And I have no Chairman's Report. The next item on the agenda is the Plan RVA. In anticipation that Ms. Pearson was not going to be here, I was just going to give you a little bit of summary on some activities of Plan RVA in the last couple of months. Back in March, they had defined what their annual program priorities were for 2024, and that was to assist local government in, believe it or not, front office activities, things of that nature. Clearinghouse for information sharing, local ordinance review, provide recommendations for localities for implementation of regional beneficial programs, whatever that means. In April, they discussed their budget and one-time bonuses for Plan RVA members or employees. In May 23, they had discussion of 10% salary increases for those members. They also remarked that many localities requested manpower assistance from Plan RVA. And do we take part of any of that in New Kent County as far as manpower assistance, like budgeting, front office or anything? Yeah, I wonder even if you have to pay it back. I don't know, but it seems strange. And they voted to increase the salary of the executive director. Okay, and believe it or not, in June, they had no meeting because they didn't have quorum. So that kind of covers Plan RVA. Commissioner's report, and I'm going to save Mr. Davis for last because he's going to talk the most. I'm going to start with Ms. Rose.
I don't have anything of note for this meeting.
Ms. Thomas, do you have anything for us?
No.
Thank you very
No.
much. Mr. LaRochelle.
I would just like to comment, it's great to see some young citizens here in the room.
And we'll get to that in a minute. Thank you. Dr. Schmidt.
No.
Mr. Moyer.
No.
Ms. Butler.
No.
Mr. Davis. He's been working hard.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel so enthused to speak. Just to do my regular comp plan update. So we did have an eventful last couple weeks. We've had three public engagements that were coordinated by EPR, our vendor, and county staff. Of course, thanks to Todd and Vlad with EPR, as well as county staff, including Ms. Inman and Ms. LeDuc. Mr. Hathaway, and Mr. Smolnick for attending. Also, appreciation to the other committee members, including Mr. Moria, Ms. Rose, Mr. Bennett, for helping out. And well, Mr. LaRochelle came out one night as well, so much appreciated. I believe they were productive. The couple of meetings, I think, exceeded my personal expectations on numbers. One was pretty close, but in all, we had almost, by my estimation, about 200 attendees, citizens that came out. So I think we had some good, lively discussions, a lot of good input, I think. I know EPR's got a chore ahead of them to discern through all the, or go through all the comments and input that was made. But again, it's good as part of the process, and I'm glad that to see the public come out and participate, and hope they will continue to participate as well through the online surveys. Other than that, the next step, I guess, we'll be waiting to hear back from EPR on, I guess, from compiling all that information. I expect that the steering committee will meet again probably sometime late fall, in my estimation. After EPR kind of puts everything together and starts working on some draft documents for a comprehensive plan. It's a bit of work, but so far I'm pleased with the progress, and look forward to seeing what we can push forward for 2045. And hope I can be around to see it. So.
Thank you, Mr. Vegas. Thank you for all the commissioners who have attended in spirit or attended in whole at these comprehensive plan get-togethers. That's been very beneficial. Staff reports, Ms. Ledoux, what do you have for us? I understand we may have somewhat full agenda next month.
Yes, sir. As much as we like to try to cancel a summer meeting, doesn't look like that's going to happen for July. We currently have in another family subdivision waiver request and 2 rezonings that came in today. So that we will have a pretty full agenda for the July meeting. Maybe August we'll get lucky, who knows? That's all I had. Did anybody else have any? No? Sherry, do you have any? Okay.
Ms. Inman, anything? Okay. Thank you very much. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 17th in this room at 6:30 p.m. Everybody is welcome. I'm going to ask the representatives from the back come up to Mike for a second, and do I choose at random, or do I choose, does somebody volunteer? I only know one name back there, and you don't want me to pronounce it. Marcus? Why don't you come up for a second, sir? And before you do, I'm going to ask for the commissioners to stick around for a moment. These 3 or 4 individuals may have a couple of questions. They've been observing us for the last hour or so, or half hour or so. They may have questions, but I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, and then we can turn to their questions. Anybody have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. The time is 7:04. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. And, sir, Marcus, you can start. You have our undivided attention for the very short term. But if you have any questions of what went on tonight, please ask it to anybody up here. And who are you, and why are you here?
Hello, I'm Marcus Sutherland. I'm here with the